Munchkins and viewers alike, it's me, Munchie, and welcome back to another rescue intake story. I'm gonna make this one very snappy because I have the gerbil right next to me. So this is a gerbil rescue. I'm gonna show you the enclosure first, show you what they came with, and then talk about the whole rescue situation at the very end. Most of you are aware I am a rescue here in the state of Washington for hamsters, gerbils, and mice, and sometimes guinea pigs, and sometimes cats, although it's just kind of been non-stop cats lately. Now you know a little bit about the backstory. What I'm gonna show you here is going to also be a learning lesson. And for those of you who don't understand, there will be situations where I will share with you why this is inappropriate and downright neglectful, whether it be unintentional or intentional neglect, depending on the situation and the story. But when it comes to very bad, neglectful POS type rescues, I will be loud, in your face mad. But in this situation, it was just people that really wanted to do more, realized they took on something that they just didn't have enough time for, and then wanted to downsize and spend time on animals that they were going to care for further. So this was a part of the sad situation of we're rehoming you after a couple months of having you, not realizing we don't want you. Because unfortunately, when you see them at the pet store, you think, oh, they're so cute. But then when you bring them home, you're like, what's more to them? A lot of times pet stores will lead you astray. They will sell you inappropriate stuff. And unfortunately, that is what's happening here. But let me show you, this is the 3-story preview hamster slash maybe gerbil enclosure that is not supposed to be marketed to gerbils. Gerbils should not be inside of wire pan-like enclosures. They really need to have glass terrariums. What you see before me is inappropriate for a setup and would probably eventually lead to them escaping. Now this setup right here is disgusting and I'm actually really irritated because this leaked all in my car. Like as soon as I was handed the enclosure, the bottom pan starts leaking this yucky goo, and honestly there's no food inside of here that I can see, so this might actually be some sort of diarrhea, but I will show you what is happening here. It's just disgusting. And I have her at the very bottom. I was told she is friendly, and I was told that at the time she was only supposed to be a couple months old, and it does look like she's much older, but it's because of the way she's being kept. The thing is that I look at this cage is, where do you interact with the animal? How are you supposed to, from any angle of this besides the top down, supposed to interact with the animal? There's no flipping way, there's no like front facing anything. It's just, there's just this. How, like, what? And why is the wheel so high up? Like, oh my god. And then, of course, as you're probably seeing this too, and I'm so sorry I'm kind of twisting you around, girl. She's actually been acting very sweet in here. The thing that I'm just so baffled with is that, like, the wheel is too high up. Like, look at, I don't know if you can see it, but like, I'm having a hard time trying to even get to her. I mean, this is probably why a lot of people get discouraged anyways from having small animals. It's because companies want to sell you stuff that doesn't work and is not appropriate. You don't give gerbils this, you just don't, because they chew it up and they chew up for materials, and this right here should have been taken out immediately. And how is this wait, how's this gerbil supposed to get up to this part? How's this? So it's really, okay, this is really irritating me because now I'm seeing this. They made it so this gerbil was somehow supposed to get up this tiny tube right here to get to the top part, so they can use a wheel that's way too high up. What was this person thinking? Okay, so I try my best to give people the benefit of the doubt, but when I see something that's really ridiculous, I'm thinking, why didn't the person see that this is a problem? It makes me really concerned to the point where unintentional feels a lot like intentional, but it's so hard to tell, so I'm gonna have to just remain neutral here about this. But this setup, just from looking at it, how is this animal supposed to get up to that part? What I'm looking at here too is the water bottle is positioned way too high up here. And again, I can't get in here to like interact with the poor deer. Hi, sweetheart. So it looks like the only way I can do this is by removing the bottom. So we're gonna do that right now. I do have a carrier over here for her, but let's just investigate her for right now because I just need to take this all off. Like, if you have to put zip ties on something like this to hold something in place, I mean, it can work, but at the same time, trying to remove it and then try to put it back on, it's going to be a disaster. Like, no wonder this cage is turning me off from even wanting to engage with this poor animal who desperately is just trying. The whole bottom is wet. It's wet! Like, guys, if you're traveling, make sure your water bottle is not, you know, leaking so profusely. And make sure that the animal actually has bedding when traveling. This animal has one single paper towel at the bottom here, actually maybe a couple, but it's soaked to the brim and it's dirty. It's just so disgusting. And they have a salt lick that is zip tied. A salt lick that's zip tied. Don't give your animals salt licks in the first place. They don't need all that sodium. You could seriously crash their organs. Don't do it. Sodium can be found in their food. You don't have to add it in at all. It's not a treat. It is something that could potentially end their life. And there has actually been gerbils I've taken care of in the past that have had kidney failure, and makes you wonder if the people gave them too much sodium. I'm taking this off right now if I can. How do you take the pan off? So I know it's supposed to be kind of a pinch and lift. It's not really wanting to pinch and lift, but oh, here we go. Hi, dear. Oh, you are so, oh, it's just me. You've never met me before, but they literally told me that she's very friendly. She'll be in your hands. She's just nervous about being picked up at first, but once in your hands, she will be fine. Oh, it's okay. Oh, she's soaked. Oh no. Oh my God, look, she's so soaked. Like, look at her bottom. All right, this might be uncomfortable for her. I'm gonna try. She might actually bite me, but look at that. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Are you guys seeing that? She's just so filthy. Oh, she squeaked. I'm sorry, dear, I know. Oh, she's so wet. So this is not exactly natural, but just gently lifting them up, it's not gonna do any damage. But look at that. That's disgusting. That's dirty. She's so filthy. I'm just gonna make sure she is a female. It looks like she is indeed a female. I'm just making sure that she doesn't have anything else that's wrong. Oh, I know. I'm just gently lifting. She's squeaking a little. Doesn't look like anything's wrong with her paws. But if you notice her, she's just, all of her hair and fur is parted. This is in part due to not being able to correctly bathe herself, maintaining that coat. It's just kind of oily and bunched up here because it's not properly being taken care of, and diet does matter. Oh, are you kind of wee-weeing on me? What is this? You're very frozen still. She might just be very scared. Diet plays a big important role in their coat condition, as well as making sure that they have sand. Wow, you're kind of just standing still there. Are you that nervous? I'm so sorry, dear. Yeah, usually gerbils don't want to sit still for long, so I am very shocked that she is actually allowing me to do this. On her original Craigslist ad, I thought that it's possible she might have an upper respiratory infection. And that's the scary part, is because I saw absolutely no bedding, and I'll talk more about that in the ad, but there's more details than what you're not hearing about right now. I just need to show you her condition, what she came in. But yeah, if she has no bedding to kind of make sure that her coat is maintained, if she's constantly in filth, this is, I know, you're trying to travel. But usually I see gerbils' hair party like this when they don't have enough bedding, when they cannot submerge themselves and easily regulate their body temperatures and heat. You are acting very good right now. So let's just get one last look at her. If my camera would like to focus, that's the hard part. It just has to focus at a specific part. I know, it looks like you want to jump. But yeah, she's filthy, and I'm actually kind of really irritated about that. So I went ahead and put her in her own container for right now, just because I don't have anything set up in the pet room right now, but I can definitely have it set up like that very quickly. We're just gonna go over a few things here. Oh, really? Okay, so this was overturned. I don't know if you saw, but this was overturned. This that's caked on is poop, as well as the oxbow stuff. The water mixing with this dripped out of the pan here, as you could probably kind of see. Oh, and it slid out, and it slid right into my car seat. So I had to clean that up just briefly before I went inside, because if that dried, that would just be terrible. So this is all just so disgusting. Like, she showed me the pan last night, and it was pure white. It's clean, but oh my God, why? And they're not that far away from where I met them, but even when I received them, I noted the pan was just disgusting looking. They had 2 dogs in the car. Let me tell you, there's definitely different priorities here, which absolutely sucks. But they were nice people, but the thing is, there is a lot of stuff that even if you're a nice person, you can really unintentionally do some harm. And that's what we're just gonna learn about. Now, these people, I have nothing against them, but I just kind of wish that they did their research, especially knowing that they want to take care of their other animals, and they might be taking care of their other animals a lot better. And they're just like, oh, we didn't have enough time. We want to invest in our other animals. It sucks when I have to be the receiver on the other end, or anybody else who has to be the receiver on the other end, and the animal unfortunately is neglected in some way. This is basically what I saw in the Craigslist ad, just this, and it was standing up there, and she had the animal in a hamster ball. Now, hamster balls are not for gerbils. Gerbils should not be in hamster balls. Now, for personal care, I would highly suggest free roaming in a playpen, making sure the area is completely secure, no cords anywhere, no holes they can get through. They will get through the smallest of holes, especially hamsters too. So that I don't like. They did, even though this is a pan, that you can barely provide any sort of bedding. As you see, the bedding bag is bigger than the pan. You can't provide any bedding for natural burrowing. And these guys in the wild, they live very far underground and they're active underground. Unlike hamsters where they come to the surface to be active, gerbils will maintain their activity levels in the ground. And they have burrows and dens because they live in a big colony. As you can tell, she is by herself. And when I asked them just briefly, like, oh, was she ever paired with another gerbil? They said that they were going to pair her, but they never got around to it. So that is really disappointing to hear, but we do have paper bedding, which this is completely fine. This is completely not fine. So gerbils aren't like hamsters, but they are still protein-based diets. They still need to have that high amounts of protein. And I have noticed that when being fed this type of diet, they are very lean and skinny. And I don't like that. And I actually, from experienced my hamsters rejecting this food because it was mainly hay. Hay's really great for natural materials, building materials, grinding your teeth, because they constantly need their teeth to be grinded down so they won't grow into their tops or the bottoms of their mouth, because the teeth just will not stop growing unless the root is damaged, therefore cannot grow any further. But this I just would not feed to gerbils. So the food already is low quality, which could also explain why when holding her she felt very, I want to say light. I wouldn't say she's thin, but she's definitely very light, lighter than what I'm used to now. Mind you, we don't know exactly what age she is. We are told they had her for a couple months, and at the time they're supposed to be, supposedly once they get into the pet store, anywhere from 5 to 6 weeks old. Trying to take this cage apart is going to be easy because the materials are so flimsy. This is why I like to guide people on the right path when choosing an enclosure, because if you choose one that just kind of looks fancy, but you don't understand the materials you're working with because you're not familiar with it because you're a first-time person. Hi, I'm not a first-time person, but I can tell you right here, this is bending in the wrong way. Not a good type of bending. And if this is the majority of what you're working with for an enclosure, I'm gonna just bend the whole thing. Look at that, that is not secure. I hope I can convince you guys this isn't secure. So this enclosure is actually supposed to be 3-story. Now it's only 2 stories right now. So we got the top layer right here. It comes with a house. It comes with a wheel that she cannot use. But again, I want to show you how far away, even though I kind of messed this part up here, this is really high up. Good thing that gerbils can actually jump, but they don't jump regularly. They're not going to be inclined to jumping unless it is for kind of situations where it needs to happen, where they're spooked, they might jump a bit to get out of the way. Again, the only way that they were able to get up to the other part is this gosh damn tube. Look at that, look at that. And it's not even, you can't even get up there. It's just hanging. It is freaking hanging. This just screams neglect. I hate this. I hate this. I hate all this. So the pan wasn't actually being used. I was given the pan, but in the ad they didn't show it. And apparently they had a glass cage that was attached to this, but they're keeping the glass cage for their reptiles. The condition of the animal and this cage, and knowing that this wheel, by the way, is way too small. There is a dog bowl that I guess served as their actual bowl. The people obviously should have done their research. They trusted what the pet store gave them. And the pet store, even though they have the enclosures there for their display animals as tanks, they sold this person in person, not on Amazon, this enclosure. And when asking this person if they were ever going to upgrade, they said that they were, but again, they took it back because they just couldn't spend enough time with this animal because they had other animals. And this was just kind of one of those impulsive purchases. They saw them, they realized it wasn't a good fit, but it might have been not a good fit due to the way that they were being kept. And again, losing interest because who wants this? Who wants this? I'm right, now with her put away, I am going to talk about the ad now. So the ad says, rehoming gerbil. Young female gerbil, we named her Cinder. She is really friendly and loves to eat and explore. She also doesn't mind being handled, but she is very skittish at first. She'll come with her full cage and toys, what is left of her food, and some bedding. There's a small rehoming fee to cover the cost of cage and new toys. When you think of new toys, the only thing that I got that was new is the thing that is no longer able to be used. Everything that came with the cage is there except for the dog bowl. New toys is just kind of a load of crap, really, because this right here, if you're charging money so you can get reimbursed for a new toy, I mean, no. When we look at the ads afterwards, you see that the top part of the enclosure is there, but there's no visualization of the pan. I've had it happen where someone tries to sell me a cage with the animal inside of it, and they try to sell me a very horrific price, even though clearly in the photos I see things damaged, duct taped, missing, and they're trying to sell it for nearly the same price as what they paid for, which is ridiculous. And sometimes I can call people out for that, but they don't like that, so that's a bad idea. But in this case, I was doing a very friendly approach. I had to get this animal because at first I thought maybe there was no pan. Some people out there will actually do that, where when things start to fall apart or if they break, they will try to keep the broken enclosure and use that. And that's not a safe environment at all for a small animal, especially one you wish to keep safe. So basically, I said that I saw your ad on Craigslist and wanted to acquire more. I also said I didn't see a pan in the photo. Is there one? They say it does come with a pan. They currently have her placed in a glass pan to give her some extra space. Now, the pan depth of this, because I brought the other enclosure into the the hamster room so you guys can actually see a comparison of what she is currently being placed inside of now versus that of which she came from. But this right here is about the size, just from eyeballing it, of a 10-gallon tank. It's a possibility they attach the top layer to a 10-gallon tank, but they wanted to keep that for their tree frogs. Now, I don't think tree frogs are supposed to be in a 10-gallon. I know Pac-Man frogs are great when it comes to 10 gallons, but when it comes to tree frogs, I don't believe a 10-gallon is appropriate. Leave your comments down below, let me know. They were trying to also tell me too that she is a lilac gerbil, that she's a lilac gerbil morph. And I'm thinking to myself, as I'm kind of like looking over the information that I got via text, I'm thinking, so they know the type of morph she is and are clearly interested in the coloration of her, but are not interested to know that this care is inappropriate or to look further into it. It baffled me at first. Usually the basic person does not know a thing about morphs and coloration. And so she showed me the pan, and the pan looks like this. You can see it on the screen, nice and clean, except for there's a ring in it, which seems like it's a possibility that there's a food tray in there previously, and or maybe they put their drink glass in it. But it looks obviously clean, they're just not using it. I asked where they got her from, and it was a local mom and pop pet store. I'm not going to say the name. Oh, actually, now that I'm rereading this text, they said they were going to transform their area for their tree frogs into a bigger enclosure. So that means that they have their tree frogs in something smaller right now and are going to use the tank for that animal for their other animal now. So they also said that they wanted to keep her, but they felt like it would be a better choice to have a home that someone will give her more attention. They also mentioned the reptiles take the spotlight more so than their small mammals. What they also said was that this enclosure, even though it looks like a 2-story enclosure, they say that this is the 3-story enclosure, and they said that she liked the 2-story a lot better. And that is very true. She is a burrow animal and she wants to burrow. She doesn't want to be up in the clouds. She's not like a rat or a mouse that would benefit from vertical space. We do not need wire enclosures that are tall, that have a lot of air ventilation, because that's not where the enrichment for the animal comes from. It comes from underground, so they need things compacted and things not leaking out of their enclosures. So it is okay to have something above, like a tank topper for your gerbil terrarium, but it is a better deal to have a glass tank, fill it up to the top as much as you can. So when I was talking to the person that I went to pick up the gerbil from, they said that the enclosure was perfect for their gerbil and that they liked liked it, and they are passing it off to me to own with the gerbil. What's conflicting to me is that they willingly know that their gerbil probably needed more or needed something better, and they also had it hooked up to a glass pan, of which they said it was glass pan, but it's a glass tank, and the gerbil was happy with that, but they're keeping it. In person, they didn't tell me that, oh, I should probably get a glass pan. They never asked me if, like, in the future I would get the glass pan. They just gave me back their regular pan. So that makes me feel like there is some possibility of a double standard here, where they're like, yeah, the animal was definitely happier in the setup that we provided that had the glass tank, but we're giving this enclosure to you. And I feel like money has a lot involved, because yes, unfortunately this was a rescue and they did charge for everything, but with everything included, they probably only made back maybe the price of the enclosure, but the condition of which she was in, that dirty bum that obviously I don't know how long she was in that. Like, it's supposed to be just about a 15 to half an hour drive to the location of which we met at. So just having that bottom be completely dirty, having the pan right here be like, I wouldn't say it's completely soaked, there's not any like water leaking anywhere. And just as an ending note, again, there's nothing wrong with this person. I felt like they were very friendly. They were very concerned about her well-being and where she was going to. They answered all my questions, which was great. I just feel like I wish that they did more research, and it sounded like they were inching their way to saying that they needed her to be upgraded, but instead decided to rehome due to focusing on other animals. I feel like even though I hate that reasoning, it's not as terrible as I have seen before. And I am not trying to defend, but I'm also trying to stay neutral about this, because unfortunately this is life. If you guys have noticed, when it comes to showing you guys all this stuff, it's just I'm burnt out. Not necessarily like, oh my gosh, this is too overwhelming, but it's just the amount of times people have told me the reason for rehoming the animal and seeing the conditions of the animal. I'm so used to it. I am really just used to it. I am just used to people being unintentional or intentional neglecting their animals. And the only parts where I really will get very fiery and feisty and blame the person for just being a POS is when there is obvious neglect going on and they just didn't care anymore. At least these people were animal people and they did have other animals and they did care, but they should have done more. And if they ever see this, because they are animal people and we share similar interests, I just hope they know that because I am the small animal person, even though they did not know that when going into this, that hopefully they can understand the frustrations that our community feels. And I'm sure that that might be the same for the reptile community when it comes to making sure that you're maintaining a reptile in an appropriate setup and or amphibian. So thank you guys so much for watching today and viewing this video to the very end. And also guys, I just want to leave on a last note a question for you. What did you do when you had inappropriate care? How did you manage to get yourself out of that and into a better place? How did you learn? I guess I'll see you in the next video, whenever that may be. So thank you guys, and ta-ta for now.